Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we've got a show for you today. First topic we're going over is previewing the upcoming Subway Series, which does happen tonight in the Bronx. After that, we'll be going over Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and if the Blue Jays trade him or not, James Paxton's DFA by the Los Angeles Dodgers, Bobby Witt Jr.'s incredible season, and going over the All-MLB team and a little bit of a watch list for it. But before we do all that, I'd like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers to ensure that your question does get read in the air. Please use the link, GSMCpodcast.net. It really does help the show. It really does mean a lot. So thank you so much for that. And let's get into the show for today. All right, so one of my favorite things in all of the baseball season is happening again tonight, the Subway Series. Now, I might be biased growing up my whole life in New York being a Mets fan, but Subway Series has always been very, very fun. It's always been something for me that has been the highlight of a season for baseball, just the aesthetics of it, two historic teams, the Mets and the Yankees, and historic sports and baseball town, specifically New York, being able to take the subway to Queens and Bronx, being able to travel all across the boroughs through the subway, why it's called the Subway Series. It's just always been a lot of fun to me. I think it has lost a little bit of its appeal as we've gone later into baseball seasons, just because the Mets and Yankees just have kind of faltered as rivals. I would still say that there is still somewhat of a rivalry left, but I've been a Mets fan for my entire life, and I don't really hate the Yankees. I mean, I don't particularly like them, but at the same time, it's not a burning hate with me like I have for some other teams. I'm just looking at my fandom, like the Braves, the Phillies, who I genuinely do not like as a Mets fan. As a baseball fan hosting this podcast, obviously, I try to stay neutral, but just as a Mets fan who just personally has his own rooting appeal, I do not like the Phillies or the Braves whatsoever, and it's never really been that way for the Yankees. Like, I don't root for them, I don't like them, but again, I don't hate them. And they're also still representing the city I'm from, the city I root for teams from. So you also have that appeal as well. But I still think it's a lot of fun. The fan bases now, I think, have ignited in the last few years. And it means a lot, especially right now, especially when I'm recording this, July 23rd, because, simply put, both teams are really good. The Yankees are the top wild card seed in the American League, one of the best teams in all baseball. The Mets are in the playoffs as well and have done really, really well since the start of June. So both teams are doing very, very well right now. The fan bases are ignited. Both have a lot of hope for them. And even though the Yankees, haven't done the greatest these past few, weeks or so, months maybe, they still have a great record, still have been a really good team, and there's a lot of hype surrounding this, so I did want to just go over the Subway Series, preview it a little bit, and just go over my thoughts for all the games, the pitching matchups, who has the advantage, all that kind of stuff, so let's get into it. So, Game 1, which is of course happening tonight, 7:05, we have Jose Quintana versus Luis Gil. Now, Luis Gil did pitch for the Yankees against the Mets in the last Subway Series, of course, where the Mets absolutely demolished the Yankees in 2 games, and that was really the first start of Luis's entire season, where he really faced some adversity. Before that, he looked to be the AL Rookie of the Year frontrunner, locked in for that, was a huge part of this Yankees team, and instead really faced some adversity there. Really did not do well against this Mets lineup that was really starting to hit these past 2 weeks. It was one of his first tests, and he failed. And since then, he's been better, but he hasn't really lived up to the standard that he set fully at the start of the season, where he was as good as he was. So, might be a little bit of, a factor of Luis Gil wanting to get revenge here, show people that, I can't pitch against the Mets, I can pitch against these really elite offensive teams, so we'll be interested to watch that. With Quintana, he started off the season really, really rough. I know me and a lot of other Mets fans as well were calling for him to be DFA at one point, but has done much better as of recently. And the thing about Quintana is he's still a veteran. He still knows how to pitch, he still knows how to eat innings when you need him to. Even though his numbers haven't been the greatest at some points, he still is just a veteran, crafty pitcher, a guy who knows what he's doing out there on the mound, simply put. So, overall for this game, I still do think the Yankees have the advantage. I simply think that Luis Gil is a much better pitcher than Quintana, but at the same time, I don't think there's a huge advantage for either team. I think both have just, both have different kinds of pitchers, and I think the Yankees, simply put, have the, traditionally better pitcher on the mound, if you want to put it that way. So I do think the Yankees have the advantage for today's game. But also something interesting is their lineup for today just did come out, and I'm going to read you this Yankees lineup because I couldn't believe when I saw it. So, leading off and playing DH for the Yankees is Jahmai Jones. Not only is Jahmai Jones their starting DH, he's leading off. 2 and 3, of course, if Soto and Judge. But after that, you have J.D. Davis batting cleanup, Gleyber Torres 6th, Alex Verdugo 7th, Carlos Narvaez 8th, and then DJ LeMahieu 9th. That's a very interesting lineup. The fact that you have Jahmai Jones leading off, Carlos Narvaez in the lineup is very, very interesting. I understand it's a lefty, but I don't know why you have that. I don't know why you have J.D. Davis batting cleanup. Just an interesting lineup, to say the least. So as much as the Yankees do have the pitching advantage, not really a big fan of their lineup right now, to be perfectly honest with you. So we'll have to see what the Mets lineup looks like, and whenever that comes out, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, that is game one. For game two tomorrow, we have Showdown versus Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole also faced the Mets last time in the Subway Series. Heel and Cole both were in that, so it's a matchup of that as well. And he did bad also. It was one of his first starts coming off the IL. I believe it was his second. And he really did poorly. So it'll be interesting to see now if Cole can kind of rebound against the Mets. It's been very publicized that the Mets are really the one team throughout Cole's entire career that he's struggled against. He's really never done well against this Mets team. So, I'm sure there's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder trying to prove to people that he can pitch in Queens, can pitch in Citi Field, and be able to be competitive against this Mets team. So it should be interesting. Sean Manaea, I think, is a good fit against this Yankees team. Again, they're not the greatest at facing lefties, and I think with his experience in big-time games, should be fun to watch him in the Subway Series. And, see how he does pitch and see what the results are there. So obviously the Yankees again have the advantage, but at the same time, I think the Mets right now have the lineup advantage, and both pitchers they have aren't bad. It's just the Yankees have pitchers who have been better this year. So I do want to say that. But this series, as I said before, has a lot of riding to it. I think one of the reasons why the Subway Series has been so kind of just desensitized over the past few years, where people don't really care about it as much, is simply because the teams have been not that great. I mean, just looking at last year, both the Mets and the Yankees didn't make the playoffs. And looking at the past few years as well, really since 2016, the Mets have not been that competitive. 2017, they were bad. 2018, they were bad. 2019, they didn't make the playoffs. 2020, they were bad. 2021, they were bad. 2022, they were great. But really, since I'd say 2017 to 2021, they were not a good team. 2019, I'd say maybe is the difference in that, but they still didn't make the playoffs and weren't really good till the second half. So with this, I think now it finally has a lot more riding to it, simply because both teams are very good. As I said, the Yankees have a lot going for them right now. They're trying to keep up desperately with the Orioles, trying to keep up in first place with that AL East. They are the first wild card spot, and with the Mets, they are also the third wild card spot and very heavily in the playoff mix right now. So it should be interesting to watch, see how these two teams do end up playing, and they have a lot riding for this. So right now, you look at the Mets situation for the playoffs. Again, they are 11 and a half games out of the NL East, so obviously they're not going to win. But the thing that I think is very, very interesting is that the Mets are only 3 back from the Braves. So that's an interesting thing. I don't think people are talking about. And the also thing about that is interesting after this is they play the Braves starting Thursday. They play in a 4-game series actually, which could be huge in deciding this year. And something else that happens is Kodai Singh is coming back for that series. So, the Braves are playing the Reds. The Braves are playing the Reds today and tomorrow as well, finishing up that series. So it should be interesting there. What happens with that? If the Braves, let's say, drop a game, the Mets win both, this series going into Thursday and Friday means a lot for the Mets and the Braves. So I think that's why this series is a lot going for it. With the Mets, they could potentially go to second place and do the impossible that I don't think anyone would have imagined at the start of this year, beating out the Braves for a spot in this division. So, especially second place, obviously everyone expected the Braves to be in first place. So I think that has a lot riding for it as well that people aren't really talking about. And with the Yankees as well, again, they have a ton riding on this because of where they are in the standings. They're 1.5 games back from the Orioles, so they really have to win every single game to have a chance to get in there because the Orioles have just been so good. You look at the wild card as well. What's interesting is they're only 3 up from the Twins. So the Twins go on a good streak and the Yankees start losing these games and dropping like flies, they could potentially lose the first wild card spot as well, which I really looked at as a lock. So I think there's a lot riding for both these teams when the Subway Series does commence, and I think that's really what makes this very interesting. Again, a lot riding for it, which usually never happens. So very interested to watch it and very excited to end up seeing what is going to happen here. Going into the deadline as well, I think both these teams have a lot to add. The Mets really need bullpen help, could also add another reliever, and the Yankees need at least 2 infielders, I'd say, at least 2 relievers, and maybe another starter as well. We'll have to see. So again, I think tomorrow is going to be my day where I do kind of the trade deadline extravaganza. which it's a week before the deadline, so I wanted to just, make all my predictions. So I think that'll be tomorrow's show, mainly about that and just going over everything and, predicting where I think everyone is going to go. So yeah, we're doing that. But yeah, again, both these teams have a lot of needs going at the deadline, and it'll be very, very interesting to be able to see, where these teams go to add and what they do end up adding at this deadline. I think both teams have a lot of needs going into this, and again, both have very good chances of being able to compete in this playoffs as well. So it will be a lot of fun to see what happens. So that is it for our first segment, just previewing the Subway Series and going over it. Moving into our second segment, which is going to be talking about to trade or not to trade. This time, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I did this yesterday as well with Mason Miller and Tarek Subel, and I wanted to add on today with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., talking about if I think the Blue Jays should or shouldn't trade him. So yeah, we'll be doing that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment, which is going to be talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and if the Blue Jays should or shouldn't trade him. We're moving into moving into the second segment here, as I said. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link at gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show. It really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, so as I said, our second topic is going to be about to trade or not to trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Now, this is what I titled the segments. I thought it would be, kind of cool, kind of fun. And I did this yesterday, of course, with Mason Miller and Tarek Subel, two players who it is a very interesting debate if their team should end up trading them or not. With Miller, I said yes. Tarek, I said no. Well, those are on the channel from last night, so if you want to watch those and give your opinion, leave a comment, please do that. Please go ahead. I thought they were pretty good. So now I'll be doing this with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., so I want to get into it. So heading into this deadline, I think one of the big questions has been asked is, are the Blue Jays going to blow it up? Are they going to trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? And should they trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? So I'm going to answer all these questions today. Should they? Are they? And if they should, why? So first off, we have to answer the first question. Should the Toronto Blue Jays trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? Now, my particular answer, without a doubt, in my opinion, I feel very confident that this is the right answer. I think the Blue Jays should 100% trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I think that it's time to move on, and it's time for both of them to part their ways, and I think that, honestly, I think the Jays should completely blow this team up. And I think trading Vladimir Guerrero Jr., your franchise star, one of the biggest names in baseball because of how good he is, because of the marketability, because of who his father was, he has a lot of value, and you can jumpstart this rebuild today if you trade him. Now, it's a very hard thing to want to trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. because, again, he's a face of your franchise, is a great guy, is a great ambassador for the game, I'm sure any team would love to have him as your face of your franchise. He's a fantastic all-star MVP caliber player when he's at his best. But I think, again, it's time for the Blue Jays to move on and trade him. The reason I think this is because, in my opinion, the Blue Jays need to rebuild. If I'm the Blue Jays, I am blowing this team up, blowing this core up, and I'm starting fresh. I'm completely tanking, and I think everything needs to be gone. And the way to start with that is trading your franchise icon in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I say this with 100% sincerity that you could get a haul, an absolute haul for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a franchise-changing haul, a rebuild-changing haul. You could get something that completely would change the course of your rebuild right now. You look at this future and you look at this team. You have two top prospects. Ricky Tiedemann, a left-handed starting pitcher who has been a top prospect for a little bit now, has never really made the transition to the MLB eventually. Only has 8 games started here at AAA, has a 5 ERA, and has dealt with some arm problems. He's a question mark. Orelvis Martinez, a very good middle infield bat who just got suspended for 80 games for PEDs. So it's not exactly like you have any top prospects coming up the wazoo that are going to really just help your team immediately. So I think if you're the Jays and you're looking at this and you're looking at it, objectively as a fan or something, you should be able to say this team needs to rebuild. We need to start fresh, and I think that's exactly what they need to do. And I think trading again Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the start of that. There are a lot of teams that will give up a ton for Guerrero, and it makes a lot of sense why. I mean, he's an all-star caliber player. Was an all-star this year. When he's at his fully his best, he can win the MVP, which we've seen him in the conversation for that just a few years ago. There's a year and a half left to control. You're able to extend him. He's said he's very open to extending with any team. So, as much as it would hurt, he needs to be the one that you trade off and start this rebuild. Now, I think the question we have to ask about this is, how did this happen? The Blue Jays look like a great young team from the past 2 years that was able to, that we looked at maybe as a potential dynasty going forward. How did that young team turn into a team that we now think should absolutely just tear it all apart and rebuild? Well, there's 2 reasons for me. First off is just simply put, bad moves. And I want to look at a few. So, in the offseason of 2023, which was last year, Blue Jays made a ton of moves that were able to help their team. Well, supposedly. They wanted them to help their team, let's just say. In that offseason, the Blue Jays were looking for, balancing out their lineup with left-handed hitters and getting better defensively. So in that case, they shipped out 3 players. They shipped out Teoscar Hernandez to Seattle. They shipped out Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Gabriel Moreno to Arizona. In exchange for that, they got Dalton Varsho and signed Kevin Kiermaier. They also acquired Eric Swanson, but he's not part of the offense, so I'll just mention him a little bit later. So with the offense now, you're trading away Teoscar Hernandez, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and Gabriel Moreno. Well, what happened immediately after that? Teoscar Hernandez, yes, he struggled in Seattle, but this year now signed a 1-year deal with Los Angeles and was maybe the best bang for your buck for agent signing of the entire offseason. It's been absolutely incredible and just won the home run derby. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Gabriel Moreno last year had incredible seasons for Arizona. Gurriel signed an extension. Moreno looked to be the future all-star catcher of that team, and both led them to the World Series, where they were 3 wins away from winning it all. And Kevin Kiermaier was Kevin Kiermaier, a fine bat who plays great defense, but nothing more than that. And Dalton Varsho, a guy who you expected to play amazing defense out there in the outfield and be a great bat, played great defense, but didn't really hit. So you substituted 3 really good hitters for 2 mediocre hitters who happen to be left-handed and play defense. And the catching situation was also different because you expected, when you traded Gabriel Moreno, the reason was because you had 2 other great catchers, Alejandro Kirk and Danny Jansen. So you're like, okay, as much as Moreno is a top prospect in baseball, we're able to ship him out because we have this catching depth. Well, what happens now? Well, Danny Jansen, who had a solid season last year, don't get me wrong, has not been great this year and is a pending free agent. And Alejandro Kirk has never really become the hitting bat that we expected him to carry on. I mean, he had some great seasons, but you're looking at it this year, it's bad. Last year he had a 90 weighted runs created plus, and this year he has a 76. So he never really continued to be the bat that you expect him to be. So that's also just bad moves there. I think bad moves that really affected the course of your franchise and are now leading you to this dark abyss of a rebuild. Also, underperformance. Bo Bichette has been really bad these past 2 years. Kevin Biggio just got DFA'd and traded to the Dodgers. So the young players you expected to build around really didn't do as well as you expected. So that's also the problem. And that happens to a lot of teams, but it happened on a large scale to this Blue Jays team. So if I'm them, I'm trading basically everyone who I don't see as an immediate part of my future. Basically everyone on a 1 to 2 year contract, I'm trading. And I think they can get a lot back, be able to infuse this team with young talent, and kind of get this rebuild going. The thing is also, you look at this AL East. The Orioles are going to be a future dynasty. The Yankees are always good. The Red Sox are doing really better. The Rays are kind of a question mark, but those 3 teams don't look to be going anywhere anytime soon. They look to be, continuous presences in that AL East. And for the Blue Jays, they just simply put don't have enough talent to keep up with it right now. And if you're looking at this Blue Jays team, if they really want to blow this team up, which I think they should, because simply put, again, I don't think they're good enough to win anything. And I don't think they're even good enough to make the playoffs. So they're just right now extremely mediocre. And they have a lot of people that you can end up trading. And a lot of people that you can end up potentially, getting a lot back for. Kevin Gausman, I think, would be someone that gets a haul back. A Cy Young caliber pitcher when he's fully healthy. Chris Bassett, a great pitcher on a contract with only his 1 year left after this. Yusei Kikuchi, potentially the best rental pitcher on this market. Jordan Romano, a great bullpen arm. Chad Green, a really solid bullpen arm. Yami Garcia, Eric Swanson, Genesis Cabrera, Nate Pearson, all very solid bullpen arms. Danny Jansen, rental catcher, get a lot back. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. can get a franchise altering haul back. I'm realizing now that I haven't spent much time talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and if they should end up trading him, but I kind of went on a full path of the Blue Jays instead. Justin Turner, really nice rental bat for a team. I'm sure a lot of teams would like to have him. After that, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, really nice bench bat for a lot of teams. Bo Bichette, you are selling him at his lowest value, which might be a problem, but still, very solid shortstop when he is fully at his abilities. You also have Kevin Kiermaier, very solid rental bat. George Springer, if you can get the hell off his contract, you do that immediately. So, there's a lot you can get back for this Blue Jays team to end up blowing it up. And to just go back with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., there are a lot of teams I think would end up giving a haul for him. I think the Astros are especially one team who need a superstar first baseman and could definitely do it. I think that would make a lot of sense. Looking at it as well, I think the Cubs maybe could divert their process and get Vladimir Guerrero Jr., even though they said they're selling because of how good he is. The Mariners have been continuously marked with Guerrero, and I think it makes a ton of sense there as well. The Pirates, if they really want to make a big splash, can end up getting Guerrero. There are so many teams that could use Guerrero's bat with how good he is, with how marketable he is, and he's really someone I'm watching at this deadline. I don't think he ends up getting moved by this Blue Jays team, but I think he should be. And if I'm them, I'm rebuilding this team, I'm blowing it up. I just don't think this core is good enough to win anything, and I think really their time has been spent at the top, and it's time to look towards the future. And you can get a lot of prospects back if you really blow up this team, and it'll be very exciting to see if they do. And they could really turn the whole deadline into a loop. So that is our second segment here, talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Toronto Blue Jays. We're moving into our third segment, which is going to be talking about James Paxton and his DFA by the Los Angeles Dodgers, something that broke on my show yesterday, and I was able to just talk about it a little bit, saying it'll probably be a segment tomorrow because it was very surprising to me. And guess what? It is. So we'll be talking about that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, which is going to be talking about James Paxton and his DFA by the Los Angeles Dodgers. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers to ensure that your question does get read in the air. please use the link, GSMCpodcast.net. It really does help the show. It really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, so our third segment is going to be talking about James Paxton and his DFA by the Los Angeles Dodgers, so let's get into it. So, as I said, this is something that broke on my show yesterday. I remember seeing it pop up on my phone, and I was like, wow, that's weird. I can't be reading that right, because, obviously I was focusing on the show. I wasn't looking at that, and I just glanced at it, and I didn't think that was right, and I looked at it more, and I was like, okay, that's real, because that was really strange to me, because Paxton was more or less a pretty significant free agent signing by this Dodgers team. I mean, his contract wasn't the largest, but it's a pretty significant piece of pitching depth for them. He's had not a horrible season. I mean, hasn't been the greatest, but he's still been a very valuable piece of pitching depth for them. So it was a very weird thing, and I thought, okay, there has to be more to the story, and there hasn't been. He just got DFA'd. The Dodgers thought they had enough pitching depth, and that's it. So I want to talk about why the Dodgers did this, and just going over the Dodgers pitching depth, some places I think Paxton could end up as well. So let's get into it. So originally, looking at this, you look at this and say, okay, well, why in the world would the Dodgers make this decision? Like, what is the rationale for this? I mean, James Paxton, hasn't been the greatest, but at the same time has not been a bad pitcher. I mean, hasn't been, again, as maybe as great as the Dodgers wanted him to be, but at the same time, you look at his stats, they really aren't that bad. He has an ERA currently of 4.43, and then an ERA, expected ERA 4.84. Yeah, it's close to 5, but it's not horrible. Also, aloha to Hawaiian 5-0. How are you doing out there? But so it was very interesting to me to see why in the world the Dodgers would do this. But it makes some sense when you look at their rotation and just the pitching staff at large. I mean, let's ignore who's on the IL right now, okay? If you ignore who's on the IL, these are all the MLB caliber starting pitchers the Dodgers have at their exposure, okay? Let's go with it. Tyler Glasnow, Gavin Stone, Walker Buehler, Landon Knack, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Clayton Kershaw, Emmett Sheehan, Dustin May, Brett Honeywell, Tony Gonsolin, River Ryan. That's 11. Okay, and now let's now go with the people not in the IL. Gavin Stone, Landon Knack, Brent Honeywell, River Ryan. It's only 4. So just for me, it didn't make a lot of sense to DFA the guy who hasn't been that bad, provides a good amount of pitching depth when you have this many injuries. Now, at the same time, only 2 of these injuries are season-ending, which are Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin. Yamamoto, I believe, should be back around September, so it's not season-ending. It's still pretty significant, but obviously he is going to pitch the rest of the season, I assume. So it just didn't make a lot of sense for me to DFA Paxton. And even with all the 11, quote-unquote, that you can pitch, you can throw Paxton in the bullpen. He can be a left-handed arm. Maybe he didn't want to do that. Maybe that's why he DFA'd him. But still, it just didn't make a lot of sense to me to eat that contract and just get rid of him when he could have provided a valuable skill set, because every single team needs pitching depth. So I just thought it was weird to be able to do that, and I don't really get the decision. Again, they have a lot of good arms in this rotation, but at the same time, I think all pitching depth is good, and just DFAing one who hasn't been that bad just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think Paxton overall becomes easily the best free agent on this market. Now, I'm not sure if they'll be able to trade him or if he's going to get released, but I think there are a ton of teams that could use a veteran arm like James Paxton. One that immediately comes to mind is the Brewers. I think the Brewers are a perfect fit for Paxton. He's the pitcher they like, an old, veteran, savvy pitcher that's kind of crafty and just throws some good innings. I also think the Red Sox having a reunion with him can make a lot of sense. That's also already been floated by multiple Red Sox reporters that the Red Sox will be interested in Paxton, so I think that would make a ton of sense as well. So I don't really get the rationale behind this. Like, again, you have a lot of pitching depth, but Glasnow's on the IL, Buehler's on the IL, Yamamoto's on the IL, Kershaw's on the IL, Sheehan's on the IL, May's on the IL, and Gonsolin's on the IL. So with all those guys in the IL, some of them, as much as you may think they may come back, it's just they still are question marks. So I just don't get it. And at the same time, if some of these guys do come back, where Paxton becomes just excess goods, you can still trade them, we're a week out of the deadline. You can trade him if you want to. So it just didn't make a lot of sense for me to just DFA him and give up on him like that. So overall, I get it. They wanted to clear 40-man space, but still, I don't agree with the decision. And I think there, could have been a bit more of a process to it. But that's just me. So looking at this Dodgers deadline now, I think pitching is going to be a real problem for them because I think they still need to heavy out this rotation, even with the injuries as well. When your rotation's healthy, it's going to be Tyler Glasnow, Gavin Stone, Walker Buehler, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Clayton Kershaw, right? Those five. I'm sure you'll send down some of your prospects as well, but I would say at this point, Glasnow's gotten hurt a lot in his career. Buehler is still a question mark. Yamamoto's a question mark. Kershaw's a question mark. I still think you need to acquire a starting pitcher. Now, Garrett Crochet is someone that has been very, very much mentioned with this Dodgers team and would make a ton of sense, obviously, but there's a question marks about him and how long he is going to be a starting pitcher this year. Now, I do want to just say, simply put, I will not have the Dodgers acquiring Garrett Crochet. I think one team is going to acquire Crochet, and we'll talk about it tomorrow, which is going to be my full trade deadline extravaganza, just basically predicting every single person on the trade market where they're going to go, so we'll go over that. But I don't have them acquiring him, so I'm just going to put that out of the way. Don't think there are a lot of veteran pitchers. I think Jack Flaherty, hint, is someone that makes a ton of sense for the Dodgers team from the California area. I believe grew up a Dodgers fan, is only a rental, so if he isn't that good, you don't have to keep him. And I'm sure if he is good, he'll willingly sign an extension to go home to LA. So I think Flaherty makes a ton of sense. You say Kikuchi as well as a veteran rental arm would also make a lot of sense. So I think the Dodgers really do have to focus on the pitching rotation right now and being able to get some more veteran depth in that rotation and get some more good pitchers as well in there. So it'll be something very interesting to watch, and just when that is one of your biggest needs, I just don't understand DFAing a guy like Paxton, who provides a very valuable skill set and a skill set that is very important to your team, that is just a veteran, good, solid arm. And overall just isn't the best decision in my opinion. But again, the Dodgers know best, and it'll be very interesting to see what they do at this deadline. I think they have some needs as well outside of starting pitcher. I think they may need a bullpen arm or two at this deadline. I think they could use an outfield bat as well. So a lot of things to be interested in for this deadline, and I'm very interested to watch what the Dodgers are going to end up doing and what the decisions that are going to be made here with the Dodgers team. So that is it for our third segment here, talking about James Paxton being DFA'd by the Los Angeles Dodgers, going over my thoughts on it, the Dodgers pitching staff as well, and all that kind of stuff. So moving into our fourth segment here, which is going to be talking about Bobby Witt Jr. and his incredible season for the Kansas City Royals. We'll be going over that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth segment. We're just going to be talking about Bobby Witt Jr. and his incredible season for the Kansas City Royals this year, so let's get into it. Now, there's been a lot of traction with Bobby Witt Jr. these past few days or so since the All-Star break ended. I believe he's hitting something crazy like 800 since it ended in a few games, which is just insane. And the thing that also happened is he took over the American League lead for WAR, which is not something I think anyone was planning on seeing, just because of all the talent in the AL, all the front-end talent, to be honest. You have Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Gunnar Henderson in the AL this year, and those have really been the top three players. So it's just honestly been insane to just see how well he's done these just past few days. And obviously he hasn't done just this great these past few days. Obviously he's done amazing altogether, but at the same time, the culmination of these past few days, adding on with everything he's done throughout the entire season, has just really shined a light on how good he's done this year and how great and outstanding of a player he's been. I think there's been a lot of conversation about if he should be the AL MVP, which we'll talk about, and so we'll go over that. But first, I want to go over Witt's incredible stats this year with the Royals. Of course, his third full year in the MLB, signed a huge long-term extension with the Royals. I don't know how long it was, but it was a long time. It was 11 years. There we go. So an 11-year contract for Bobby Witt Jr. Very deserved, by the way. So looking at it this year, his weighted runs created plus is 166. Yes, he has a 166 weighted runs created plus. That is, if you don't know, insane. He's 66% above. He's 66% better than any average hitter, which is just insane to think about. I don't know what to talk about with that. So, other than that, his walk percentage is up from last year, going from 5.8 to 6.6, so he's walking more. That helps a lot. His K percentage is down a full percent, which is really nice. His walk to K ratio is, of course, up. His OPS almost at 1,000 at 979, which for a shortstop who plays amazing defense is incredible. Like, that's something to really withhold and just say, wow, that is incredible. So that's something that is very, very cool. His BABIP also is a little bit higher at 3.73, but at the same time, Witt is a very young, fast player, so his BABIP is just naturally going to be higher than any other player. I mean, that's just kind of how it works. He has the speed to beat out ground balls, the speed to be able to, put balls and play more and, get them in more action. So it's not really that crazy. So Witt overall has had a fantastic season. His ISO is also up from 218 to 251 this year as well, which is also incredible. His barrel percentage is up 4%, which is also great. His hard hit percentage is at 50%, so 50% of the time he's at bat, he hits the ball hard, which is also great. His expected WOBA and his WOBA are also around the same right now, so it's not exactly like he's getting fully lucky. He's cut down on his ground ball percentage. He's hitting more line drives. So overall, Witt just had a really fantastic season and has improved on a lot of things. So it seems like this is for real and he's staying. And if I'm the Royals, I would not be happier. You gave him this 11-year extension after him being the second overall pick, after having 2 really good years in the MLB, because you were confident in his abilities and you were confident in the way that he would be able to help out this franchise and be a franchise caliber player. And that's exactly what he's done. He has been so incredible for this Royals team. In my opinion, is definitely the best athlete in Kansas City. Sorry, Mahomes. Just kidding. But, as a Bills fan, I like to, had to get in a little dig at Mahomes there. But overall, just has had such an incredible season here with this Royals. And this Royals future is looking really, really bright right now with Bobby Witt Jr. At the forefront of it. I mean, he's just been so good. And the way that his future looks is incredible. And this Royals future overall is just looking really bright. Other than Witt for this future core, I mean, you just drafted Jack Caglione, who I think could be up maybe next year, maybe in the opening day roster next year, and could be an outstanding first baseman. Benny Pasquantino has also been incredible and will be a really big part of your future. MJ Melendez, Salvador Perez had a really nice resurgent season. Michael Garcia is someone I really like for the future as well. There's been some rumors as well about acquiring other younger bats, like a guy like Jazz Chisholm, who I think would make a lot of sense as well for this Kansas City team. So overall, this Royals future is very, very bright, and being able to have a guy like Witt at the forefront of that is very, very exciting. And I'm very excited to be able to see, what he is going to do for this future and what is going to be happening with this Royals team. So, I mean, looking at this Royals team now, looking at them towards the deadline, they do have some moves to make, but I still do think that they are a really, really good team. As I've talked about before, for this Royals team, their rotation is just killer. I mean, they have 4 outstanding starting pitchers. You have Seth Lugo and Cole Reagans as 2 aces at the top, Brady Singer as a very good pitcher, and Michael Wacha, who's also been a very good signing as well. So this Royals rotation, absolutely fantastic. You also have some younger guys as well over there, like Daniel Lynch, who's solid, Alec Marsh as well, who I think is a very good depth option. So there's a lot to like about this Royals team, and there's a lot of good starting pitchers here on this roster. So other than that, you can add, you have the capabilities to add because of how good this rotation has been, because of how well they're looking. And I think the main one is the bullpen here. I don't think they have a great bullpen. I think the Hunter Harvey addition from the Nationals showed a few things. One, that they know they don't have a good bullpen, that they have to add. And two, they are willing to add and willing to make the moves that will help out this team and make them be a contender for the rest of this year. I really like that move. I thought it was a good buy low move. I thought they get a little much for Harvey, but at the same time, I think he's a very solid reliever who also has some control available, so that was nice there. I've talked about it many times, but Tanner Scott is someone I connect to the Royals a lot. I think he makes so much sense for this team, and I'm very interested to be able to see what will happen with him and where he's going. But yeah, the Royals need a ton of bullpen help, and I think Scott will make a lot of sense there, but they could also add bat. I think also another bat as well. I talked about Jazz Chisholm. I think makes a lot of sense, but I think he might be priced out of their range a little bit. Maybe they go all in and acquire both Chaz and Tanner from the Miami Marlins, but that would be interesting. But overall, I think maybe some lower bats, like a guy I talked about before, Tommy Pham, would make a ton of sense for this Royals team. He's a guy that I think really would make a ton of sense for this team. A buy low candidate for as a veteran bat, a guy who provides a chip on the shoulder for this team. Is just a very solid veteran hitter that works the count. It's great in at-bats, and I think would really help out this team a lot. So I think Tommy Pham overall would make a lot of sense. And yeah, I think that Bobby Witt Jr. and this Royals team are really making a case for them to make the playoffs and fully add. So going back to Witt, I don't think any of this would be possible without him. The way that he has just been so fantastic this year with all this pressure on him has been great. I mean, he just signed an 11-year contract to be able to be the face of this Royals team that had a very good younger core, and the way that he has just took that and ran with it has really not succumbed to the pressure whatsoever, has just been really, really impressive in my opinion. And I think Witt could be a future multiple-time MVP, a superstar in this league, and I already think he's a top 10, top 15 player in baseball. So it'll be very exciting to watch this Royals team for the future. Very exciting to see what they do at the trade deadline as well. And yeah, I'm very, very interested and excited to be able to see what is going to happen with this Royals team and what decisions are going to be made with them and for their future as well. So that is it for our fourth segment here, talking about Bobby Witt Jr. and his incredible season for this Kansas City Royals team. Moving into our fifth segment here, which is going to be talking about the All-MLB team and just going over, I didn't change the title there, so it does not mean to say Hall of Fame. It is meant to say All-MLB team and the watch list there. So yeah, we'll be going over that, and we'll talk about it after the break. So thanks, and bye. And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fifth and final segment for today's show, and just going over that. So let's get into it. It is going to be talking about the All-MLB team and going over the guys I think could be on it, going over MLB's current projection for it, and talking about it. So yeah, I am going to change the text here a little, just there. I did not change it before. I don't know why, so I apologize about that. But yeah, we're going to change that very quickly. So there we go. And yeah, so we're going to be talking about that. But before we talk about that, actually, I wanted to give some update here. We actually had some pretty significant news that just broke over the break that I did want to mention. And it's not good news as a Mets fan. It's not great. Christian Scott has been placed on the 15-day injured list with a right UCL sprain. That is bad. A UCL sprain is never good for a pitcher, especially a young one. So that is really unfortunate. Some bitter news here dampering the opening of the Subway Series 100%. But yeah, that's not great. So we're hoping to learn more updates on that, seeing if the worst thing that happens, seeing if the worst comes to worst comes true with Tommy John, of course. So yeah, obviously I'm hoping it does not. I'm very much hoping it does not, but these things happen. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow if there is any news on that. But yeah, so focusing on this now. Obviously, I had to get that out as a Mets fan. We were talking about the All-MLB watch list and talking about the All-MLB team. So the All-MLB team is something that MLB did invent, I believe, last year, where it's like the All-NBA team, where it's the best player at every position, and just, recognizing the guys who have done the best at each position. So I did want to go over just who they have here, some thoughts I have on it as well. So yeah, let's go over that. So first off, let's go with the pitchers. So they have 5 starting pitchers and then 2 relief pitchers. So first off, for the starting pitchers, we have Tarik Skubal from the Detroit Tigers. Yeah, obvious pick, has to be here. Skubal is, in most people's eyes and in my eyes, the Cy Young favorite for this year. I did a segment on him yesterday as well, talking about if the Tigers should trade him. So go check out that on the channel if you would like to see me talk about more about Tarik Skubal and just rave about him. But yeah, obviously Skubal has to be on this list. Skubal has been an incredible pitcher this year. Probably the best pitcher in baseball this year with how well he's done. Has to be on this All-MLB team, and I don't disagree with this whatsoever. Chris Sale from the Atlanta Braves is next. Question mark here. He's had a really good season, but again, I think right now it makes sense. But again, I'm just not expecting Chris Sale to continue doing this well as he has for the rest of the season. Like, I expect there to be some regression at some point. Maybe I'll eat my words at the end of the season. We'll end up seeing, but yeah, I think right now it makes sense. But I think there are a lot of other more deserving candidates, to be perfectly honest with you. So we'll have to see about that. Paul Skeens of the Pittsburgh Pirates is next. Obviously, Skeens has to be here. Probably the greatest rookie season of all time at this point right now. Is a Cy Young contender, a legitimate contender as well as a rookie. Is having an incredible season, and yeah, just overall has been really good. And if you're going to make an All-MLB team like this, you have to include Skeens with how incredible he's done, with how big of a face he is of baseball at this point from this season. So I think it makes a lot of sense to be able to put Skeens here. I think it is very true, and yeah, I think that overall this is a very obvious choice, and it makes a ton of sense here to put him here. Next up, we have Garrett Crochet from the Chicago White Sox. How much longer will he be on the Chicago White Sox? We're not sure, but Crochet has done absolutely incredible in his first full year as a White Sox, has become maybe the biggest trade piece on this entire market, and I think 100% has to be on a watch list like this. I think in the end of the season will end up being on the All-MLB team. Not sure if the innings problem will matter, as I don't think he'll throw many more innings as a starting pitcher in the regular season. But at the same time, leads the league in strikeouts right now, has been an incredible player. And yeah, overall has been such a fantastic addition to this White Sox rotation. Won't be part of the White Sox rotation much longer, but yeah, has been a really incredible player for this team. And overall deserves this to be on this list 100%. And finally, from the Baltimore Orioles, Corbin Burnes. Yeah, got to include Corbin Burnes in this kind of list. Has been incredible since coming over to Baltimore in that trade. Has really just been a fantastic pitcher here for this Orioles team. Has been one of the biggest reasons why this Orioles team has been as good as they have been. Really has helped out this rotation. Really has become an elite starting pitcher for them. As I think right now has been better than any time he was in Milwaukee. I think there's only really been 1 year in Milwaukee where he's better than this. So it's been a fantastic addition to this young, impressionable Orioles team. Adding a veteran ace like this has been such an important move for them, and yeah, has been an incredible piece to what they've been doing there over in Baltimore. Going to the relievers now, Emmanuel Clase as the first reliever here from the Cleveland Guardians. Yeah, you have to put Clase. He's been probably the second best reliever in all of baseball this year. Has been absolutely incredible. I mean, is just continuously is one of the most consistent and best relievers in all of baseball. Has been such a lockdown player for this Guardian team since coming over there in the Corey Kluber trade. So overall has been a fantastic addition to this Guardian team since coming over in 2020. and has been consistently one of the best closers in all of baseball, has continued it this year, and definitely deserves to be on a list like this. Mason Miller of the A's, the next pick for the relief pitchers. Obviously, you can't talk about the best relief pitchers in baseball this year without having Mason Miller. The way he's just effortlessly gone into that role has been absolutely incredible, and has definitely been one of the best relievers in baseball this year. I would say the best relief pitcher in baseball this year. So, overall has been absolutely fantastic and definitely deserves to be on this list. Now, do I agree fully with this list? I think these picks are fine. I think that overall they picked some good players, but I think there were some players that maybe could have been on this list for the pitching side as well. Of course, that weren't. I think there are some pitchers that really maybe deserve to be on this list that weren't. First off, I would look at Logan Gilbert of the Mariners. I think he should definitely be on this list, and I think should probably be on this list over Chris Sale. But that's just my thing. That's really the only big one gripe I had there. I'd also say Ranger Suarez, Seth Lugo, Tyler Glasnow. I think those guys, you have to try to find a way to get them in if you can, but obviously it's only 5 spots, so I get it. And the relievers, I have no problem with it. Mason Miller and Emmanuel Clase have clearly been the 2 best relievers in all of baseball this year. Definitely should be on this list. So we'll now be going to the lineup, which is apparently the best players from each position this entire year. Starting off at catcher from the Baltimore Orioles, Adley Rutschman. Yes, Adley's been the best catcher in baseball this year. I think is the best catcher in baseball. 100% deserves to be on this list. And no gripes about it here. First base we have from the Philadelphia Phillies, Bryce Harper. Harper also deserves to be on this list. I think it's very close with him and Freddie Freeman, but I think the way that Harper has just effortlessly transitioned to being a first baseman this year after not playing it at all in his professional career has been so impressive that he deserves to be here. And as much as Freddie's been really, really good, I think Harper's been better, and I think that Harper deserves to be on this list. Is a very obvious choice to be here, and I think again 100% deserved and makes a lot of sense to be here. Second base we have from the Arizona Diamondbacks, Ketel Marte. This could go either way with him and Jose Altuve from the Astros. I think that both have been the 2 best second basemen in baseball this year. If you want to put Marte, I'm okay with that. You want to put Altuve, I'm okay with that. But Marte has had a great season this year. I again have no problems whatsoever having him on this list, and I think he definitely deserves to get some recognition for how well he's done. Third base we have from the Boston Red Sox, Rafael Devers. I would also agree with this. I think that Devers has been incredible with the Red Sox this year, just continuing to be an incredible bat for the future of this Red Sox team. Has been one of the biggest reasons why this Red Sox team has done as well as they have this year, have exceeded so many expectations. So definitely deserves to be on this list. In my opinion, has been the best third baseman in all of baseball, and 100% deserves to be here. Shortstop, Gunnar Henderson. Yes, obviously, one of the AL frontrunners for MVP this year. Definitely deserves to be on this list. Again, I talked all about Bobby Witt Jr. this episode, but overall, it's Henderson versus Witt for the shortstop position. And in my opinion, as of right now, Henderson has been the better player. Witt is very, very, very close, like as close as you can be. But I just think, simply put, Henderson has been the better player this year. Outfield, we have Judge and Soto from the Yankees and Steven Kwan from the Guardians. Yes, these are the obvious picks. These are the guys who have been the best outfielders in baseball all year. Makes all the sense in the world. No arguments. And the DH, of course, is Shohei Ohtani, who will probably end up becoming the first full-time DH to ever win the MVP award. So obviously, he's going to be the choice here to be at the DH position. Is the best player in baseball, in my opinion. Is an incredible hitter. Has been such an incredible DH this year, even with a torn UCL on his other arm. So, an incredible player, and definitely deserves to be here. So, that is the All-MLB watch list for this. Just going over MLB's picks for the All-MLB team. I may give mine when it gets later into the season. So, I'll be talking about that. But that is it for our show today, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe to the notification bell to know you get notified when I upload, when all the other great content creators on this channel do. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. And tomorrow will be the trade deadline extravaganza. We're doing all my predictions for the trade deadline, so we'll be going over that. And we'll be seeing you tomorrow and going over it. So again, I want to thank you so much for watching. Make sure to watch tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see if baseball throws at us then. Thanks, guys, and bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn ain't that great.